Am I the asshole for evicting my pregnant sister? She claims she has a right to the family home, but she doesn't know our parents didn't leave the house to me. They sold it to me 10 years ago to hide assets from her gambling debt.
I have lived in this house for 10 years. To the outside world, and specifically to my sister Sarah, 34F, it looks like I'm just a bachelor coasting on a nice inheritance. I lived here with our parents until they passed away last year within months of each other. Since then, I've been quietly renovating, updating the plumbing, and finally enjoying the peace and quiet. That peace ended 3 weeks ago on a rainy Tuesday night. I opened the door to find Sarah standing on the porch, soaking wet, shivering and sobbing. She was clutching 2 garbage bags of clothes, and this was the kicker. She was visibly showing. I knew she was pregnant about 6 months along, but seeing her like that triggered every protective instinct I had. "He kicked me out," she wailed, referring to her on-again, off-again boyfriend, a guy who I knew had the same affinity for casinos that Sarah used to have. "I have nowhere to go. Please, OP, it's for the baby." I'm not a monster. I let her in, but I'm also not stupid. I know Sarah's history. I made her a tea and sat her down at the kitchen island. Before she even unpacked a bag, I laid down the law. "You can stay here for 30 days, I told her, grabbing a notepad. "I am writing this down. This is a temporary guest arrangement until you find a place or a shelter. No gambling, no boyfriend coming over, and you clean up after yourself." She signed the paper, tears drying up instantly. "Thank you," she said, looking around the kitchen. "It feels so good to be back in Mom and Dad's house. It feels like safety." I should have caught the way she emphasized Mom and Dad's house, but I let it slide. The first week was fine. She slept a lot. But by week 2, the dynamic shifted. I came home from work to find my leather recliner, my favorite chair, gone from the living room. "Sarah?" I called out. She walked out of the kitchen eating an apple. "Oh, hey, I had the clutter hauled away. I need to make space for a playpen and the baby swing. That chair was ugly anyway." I stared at her, stunned. "You threw away my furniture? Sarah, you're a guest. You're leaving in 2 weeks." She rolled her eyes, waving a hand dismissively. "Don't be dramatic. I'm nesting. It's a hormonal thing. Besides, Mom always hated that chair." I made her pay me $200 for the chair from her unemployment check, but the boundary had been crossed. The next day, I came home to smell fresh paint. She had painted the guest room, her temporary room, a pastel yellow. "It's for the nursery," she beamed, ignoring my visible anger. "You aren't having the baby here," I said, my voice rising. "You are moving out on the 30th. She just smiled, that patronizing smile she used to give me when we were kids. "We'll see. You can't put a baby on the street, OP. What would Mom say?" The tension in the house became suffocating. I started locking my bedroom door when I left for work. Then, 3 days ago, I caught her going through my mail on the counter. She was holding a letter from the bank. "What are you doing?" I snatched the envelope from her. It was a mortgage statement. "She was just curious," she said, crossing her arms. "I wanted to see how much of the estate money is going toward the house expenses. You know, since you're the executor or whatever, I have a right to know how much of our money you're spending." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. She thought the mortgage was being paid by some magical inheritance fund our parents left behind. She had no idea the estate was empty, and that I was the one paying the mortgage with my salary. "Stay out of my finances, Sarah," I warned. "One more strike and you're out, pregnant or not." The final straw broke today. I left work early because I had a bad feeling. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw a white van marked City Locksmith parked out front. I ran to the porch just as a guy in coveralls was drilling into the front door handle. Sarah was standing behind him, pointing at the deadbolt. "Stop!" I yelled. "What the hell is going on?" The locksmith looked up, confused. "Homeowner says she lost her keys, wants to rekey the entry." "She is not the homeowner," I snapped. "I am. Pack up your stuff." I flashed my ID at him. He didn't need to be told twice. He glared at Sarah, packed his drill, and walked to his van. I turned to Sarah. She didn't look ashamed. She looked furious. "Why would you change the locks on my house?" I demanded. "Because I don't feel safe," she screamed. "You have your friends over for beers. You come in late. I need security for my child. And while we're at it, we need to switch rooms." I blinked, sure I'd misheard. "Excuse me?" "The master bedroom," she said, as if ordering a coffee. "It's bigger. It has the ensuite bathroom. It's ridiculous for me to be waddling down the hall to pee 3 times a night while you hog the big room. Since I'm staying long-term to raise the baby in the family home, I need the master. You can take the basement. It's finished, isn't it?" My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from the sheer effort it took to not scream. She truly believed this was her house. She thought I was just the caretaker of her inheritance. "Sarah," I said, my voice dangerously low, "get inside, sit at the table. We are done." "Don't talk to me like that," she spat. "I have rights. This is our parents' house, and I own half of it. If you don't give me the master bedroom, I'm calling a lawyer." "Call him," I said, walking past her to the safe in my office. "In fact, put him on speaker. I have some paperwork he's going to want to see."
I walked back into the kitchen carrying a thick manila envelope. Sarah was sitting at the island, her phone in her hand. She wasn't actually on a call. The screen was black, but she was tapping it against the counter like a gavel. "I hope you're ready to negotiate," she said, her voice dripping with unearned confidence. "I know the law. Surviving children have equal claims to the estate if there's no specific will excluding them. You can't just hoard mom and dad's assets." I didn't sit down. I stood on the opposite side of the island and slid the envelope toward her. "Open it," I said. She scoffed, flipping the clasp open. She pulled out the top document, a deed of sale dated October 14th, 2014. "What is this?" she asked, squinting at the fine print. "That is the day I bought this house," I said calmly. "Look at the signatures at the bottom." Her eyes scanned down. "Mom, Dad, and you. So what? They put your name on the title for tax reasons. That doesn't mean it's yours." "Keep reading," I instructed. "Look at the bank transfer records behind it." She shuffled the papers. Her face fell as she saw the cashier's check copy for $320,000, paid from my account to our joint parents' account. "I didn't inherit this house, Sarah," I said, my voice steady. "I bought it at full market value 10 years ago. This isn't family property, it's my property." "That's a lie," she snapped, dropping the papers. "Why would they sell it to you? We were a family. They lived here until they died." "They lived here because I let them live here rent-free," I cut in, "and they sold it to me because they were about to lose it, because of you." The color drained from her face. "Do you remember 2014, Sarah? You were studying abroad in Atlantic City. You forged Dad's signature on a $50,000 loan. You maxed out their credit cards. Creditors were calling the house every single day, threatening to put a lien on the property. I was going through a phase. Mom and Dad helped me out. They handled it." "They didn't have the money to handle it." I slammed my hand on the counter, making her jump. "They were terrified. They came to me crying because they were about to be homeless in their 60s. So I took every dime I had saved, I took out a mortgage in my name, and I bought the house from them so they could pay off your debts and safeguard the home from being seized by your creditors. The only reason this house still stands is because I sacrificed my 20s to pay for it." Sarah stared at the papers, her breathing getting shallow. I thought for a second she might apologize. I thought she might feel shame. I was wrong. Her face twisted into a snarl. "You manipulated them," she hissed. "You took advantage of them when they were stressed. You stole my inheritance." "I saved them from bankruptcy," I yelled back. "You tricked them," she screamed, standing up and sweeping the papers off the counter. They scattered across the floor. "These are fake. You typed these up. Mom would never sell the house to you without telling me." They didn't tell you because they were ashamed of you, Sarah. They didn't want you to know that you almost ruined them. That broke her. She let out a guttural scream and grabbed a heavy ceramic vase from the center of the island, a vase our mother had loved, and hurled it at me. I ducked. The vase smashed into the cabinets behind me, shattering into 100 pieces. "Get out!" she screamed, grabbing a steak knife from the drying rack. "Get out of my house, you thief! This is my house. My baby deserves this house." She was advancing on me, the knife shaking in her hand. The delusion was total. She had rewritten reality to make herself the victim. I backed away slowly, hands raised, and pulled my phone from my pocket. "Sarah, put the knife down. I am calling the police." "Call them," she shrieked. "I'll tell them you hit me. I'm pregnant. Who do you think they'll believe?" I tapped the screen. "I'm already recording, Sarah. I've been recording since I walked in the room." She froze. Her eyes darted to the phone lens, then to the knife in her hand. "911, I said into the phone, loud and clear. "I have an emergency. My sister has a weapon and attacking me in my home." She dropped the knife with a clatter, but the damage was done. She started crying, not the sad tears from 3 weeks ago, but angry, spiteful tears. She slumped onto the floor amidst the scattered legal documents and the shards of Mom's favorite vase. "You're ruining my life," she sobbed into her hands. "You selfish prick, you're ruining everything." I didn't stop recording. I walked to the front door, unlocked it for the officers, and waited on the porch, shaking. I knew that once those sirens arrived, there was no going back. The family's secret was out, and my sister was effectively gone. The next hour was a blur of flashing lights and neighbors peeking through their blinds. When the police arrived, I showed them the video of Sarah wielding the knife and the smashed vase. Because she was pregnant, they were hesitant to arrest her, but the threat with a deadly weapon was undeniable. They took her in for a mandatory psychiatric evaluation and held her overnight. I didn't sleep. I spent the night sweeping up the shards of Mom's vase and organizing the paperwork. The next morning, I filed for an emergency protective order. Given the video evidence and the property damage, the judge granted it immediately. This effectively evicted her. She was legally barred from coming within 500 feet of the property. But Sarah wasn't done fighting. 2 days later, my phone blew up. Facebook notifications, texts from distant cousins, even a call from an aunt I hadn't spoken to in years. Sarah had posted a long, rambling sob story online. "My own brother kicked me out on the street while I'm 6 months pregnant. He stole our parents' house and is leaving his niece/nephew to freeze. I have nothing. Please share to expose this monster." The comments were brutal. People I barely knew were calling me a scumbag. I was tempted to engage, to post the deed, to post the video of her with a knife, but before I could, the cavalry arrived. My Aunt Linda, Mom's older sister, commented on Sarah's post. Linda is the matriarch of the family, a woman who takes no prisoners. "Sarah Elizabeth," Linda wrote, "delete this pack of lies immediately. We all know about the $50K your parents paid to the loan sharks in 2014. We know OP bought that house to save your parents from the mess you made. He has taken care of them for a decade while you were off gambling. If you want to air dirty laundry, I have the receipts from your mother's emails. Try me." The post was deleted within 10 minutes. Without the victim narrative, Sarah had nowhere to turn. Her friends had abandoned her long ago due to her debts. Her ex-boyfriend wanted nothing to do with her. Because of the protective order and her homelessness, social services got involved. They placed her in a state-assisted living facility for expectant mothers. It wasn't the luxury of my master bedroom, but it was safe. The facility had strict rules, mandatory counseling, financial literacy classes, and absolutely zero tolerance for gambling. I changed the locks the next day. I installed a Ring camera and reinforced the door frame. 6 months later, the house is quiet again. I finished renovating the guest room, stripping the yellow paint and turning it into a home office. I met a woman named Claire a few months ago. She's kind, independent, and when I told her the story about Sarah, she didn't judge me. She just held my hand and said I did the right thing. Last week, I received a letter with no return address. It was from Sarah. OP. The counselors here made me write this. They say I need to take accountability. I'm not ready to forgive you for calling the cops, but I'm clean. I haven't placed a bet in 5 months. The baby is here. His name is Leo. He's safe. I know now that the house isn't mine. I think deep down I always knew, but I just wanted it to be easy. I wanted Mom and Dad to save me one last time. Thanks for not pressing charges on the knife thing. Sarah. It wasn't a perfect apology. It was still laced with bitterness, but she was safe, the baby was safe, and she was finally getting the help our parents had been too afraid to force upon her. I folded the letter and put it in the drawer, right next to the deed of the house. I walked out to the porch with a cup of coffee. The sun was setting, casting a warm glow over the lawn. My lawn. For the first time in 10 years, I didn't feel like I was guarding a secret or holding up a crumbling family legacy. I took a sip of coffee and breathed in the cool air. The house was finally, truly mine.
That's it, guys. Thanks for watching.